Time to check in on the class war. And there's more news coming down the pipeline. Um, you know what sucks? The one thing I don't like about watching live streams is people waiting for people to roll in. Um, my audience isn't that big yet, so I ain't gonna wait. You can watch this later. Hopefully you do. And if you're watching this later and you like checking in on the class war, you like being updated on what the wealthy people are doing every single hour to work to strip us of our rights. I was going to say to work to strip workers, but they're grinding to strip. I hate that. I hate on the grind. I know everybody uses it, and from time to time I do, but you shouldn't have to grind it out to survive, right? That's usually what people are talking about. Um, okay, so if you're watching this while it's not live and you like checking in, that's what I'm going to keep doing is bringing you class war news. Because every single day, if you're unaware, if you're not paying attention, if you're sleeping, there are very, very wealthy people taking stuff to the highest courts in the land. That's what I'm going to talk about today. They're trying to take it to the highest courts in the land to repeal or eradicate an institution that has been in America for almost 100 years. In 11 years, this institution will have been a part of America for 100 years. It was established in 1935. I'm going to get into all that. Uh, but if you like keeping up, I keep saying this. If you like keeping up, let me tell you what to do. Hit the little subscribe button, hit the bell. I'm going to try to start going live at least 5 days a week, depending. If there's more news or I can have a guest on, I'll go longer. But hit subscribe, hit the bell to get notified, and leave a comment. If you like the video, leave a like. If you got an issue with this, if you're one of the people I dub a class war trader, always defending, and not a trader like a stock trader, like a traitor, uh, with a T and an O, not a D and an E. If you're one of those people, leave it in the comments. Why? I encounter these people all the time. Dude, the other day I talked about this on Twitter, called it theft for millionaires and billionaires to pay their fair share back into society. Now remember, these millionaires and billionaires did not do it on their own. I know they claim to do it, but if you look up what generational wealth is and how many people inherit that, or look at Trump, he said he got a small $1 million, $2 million loan from his dad. Who can get $1 million loan from your parents? My parents been dead for almost 20 years now. I can't move back in with them. They never watch my kids. So remember, a lot of these millionaires and billionaires not only didn't do it on their own and had some kind of wealth through their parents, but they also use our roads, use our water, use our airports, use our police, use our fire departments, use our governments, don't pay taxes like they should. Uh, so there's no way they did this. They didn't build their own roads. I know Google or Amazon or Facebook wants to build its own town, and Disney World kind of does have its own little city. But irregardless, they're still using our resources. They're still using our communities. They're still sucking up and exploiting everything. So they're not doing it on their own. Just remember that. Trust fund babies. That's the other thing. I personally know at my work, people have shared with me that they are trust fund babies. And they flat out tell me, they're like, I don't tell everybody that. They are very, uh, I don't know if they're embarrassed, but they keep it very discreet. And these people come in every day to the biggest coffee retailer in the world and get two, three drinks, buy drinks for other people, get food. And I'm always like, man, it would take me 3 days to earn what they spend in a couple of hours at this shop. So yeah, and that's the thing. A lot of these people, I worked for men, and I'll talk about this a lot, just because this is my personal experience. And again, because I got some more people rolling in. Welcome to the live stream. Hit subscribe, like, if you like checking in with the class war. I'm going to talk about, it's a Vice article today, and I will get to the guy that I worked for in a second, but I just want to tell you, it's a Vice article where the biggest global conglomerates, the wealthiest people in the world, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, different corporations like Trader Joe's, and well, we'll get into that in a minute, but they're trying to go to the highest court in the land to strip workers of their rights. Rights that we've had here in America for 100 years, rights that people fought and died for. Make no mistake, blood was shed for these rights. And these billionaires are trying to strip us. Why? Because they're scared of the power we, the people, have when we create solidarity amongst each other. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to hit my headlines, which I'm going to do every single effing live stream because these headlines are not talked about on the news ever. And these are the most important things affecting our communities. The reason people are going to prison, the reason some people are committing crimes, the reason kids are dying, the reason your grandparents or your parents might be dying because the cost of cancer treatment I was just reading was $200,000. How are you going to charge someone that much? They don't have a choice. They have to try to figure it out, put their house up, pay for it. Imagine that you had cancer and you go and they go, listen, we got the medicine. It's going to be 200 grand. And you're working for minimum wage, or it's your parents and they're retired and they're living off a fixed income. What do you do? And mind you, a lot of these companies got government subsidies, which means the government helped pay for it, and the government helped fund these cures. I don't mean to get upset, but this is the stuff that is just absolutely the most hideous and disgusting things in our society. So before I get into all that, let me tell you real quick. I work for a very, very wealthy dude, and he always claimed his whole propaganda, and that's what it is. These PR people is just like Elon Musk. He's on record himself saying he used to carry emeralds in his pocket to school. His dad owned an emerald mine or was a co-owner, and he openly talked about this. And as soon as it became like a thing, like you're not self-made, you're not as smart as you claim to be, you had a lot of help getting to where you are. All of a sudden he changed the narrative and he fought tooth and nail against that. Why? Because rich people need this propaganda to sell to the poor people that, oh, you can do it too. But what poor people sometimes don't realize is a lot of the times it's a trap. You can't save that. You can't get a loan to start a business or buy into a business or start a startup. For a lot of people, that's very hard. And nowadays, it's getting harder and harder, especially with the interest rates on loans. But the rich guy I work for, that was it. He spewed propaganda every single day. He had a radio show. He's still on the air, and he tells people every single day. He pulled himself up by his bootstraps. He made it on his own. But the truth is this guy lived in the same town. He's 50, 60 years old. Lived in the same town his whole life. Parents lived with his parents probably till he could buy his first house. His grandparents were racehorse owners. Like this guy came from wealth, and he just negates all that, and he just pretends like I did it all my own. And people, maybe some people take that for granted, or maybe some people think that, but I vehemently fought against him and said, "You sound like a dude who was raised in the same town. You sound like a dude who uh, didn't make it on your own." And the only reason I say that is because my parents were dead before I was in my late 20s. And for my brothers, they were teenagers. You want to talk about really making it on your own? Having no home, no place to go, having to work, or you don't eat, you don't survive. That's truly making it up on your own. And you'll never hear my brother say anything about it. He won't say a peep. He don't brag to people. He don't, well, I mean, and he's still in a position of, you know, he's doing good, but he's in a position where we're always one check away from something happening, and you'll never hear him talk about this stuff. So keep people that brag about how tough they were to make it where they are, keep this suspect. Keep your eye on them. Dig a little bit into their history, because a lot of people like to claim that. And the one thing I've realized is never try to steal another man's struggle. And that's what he's doing. He's stealing the struggle of people who have really done it. He's stealing the struggle of people who are really going through it and he makes it seem like it's so easy to do. He did it. And that's what this rich people propaganda is. They sell it to you. It's like a lottery ticket. It's like a drug. They're telling you, oh yeah, all you got to do is what I did and just work hard. But they don't tell you he was working hard while he didn't have to pay rent. We got to live with his mom and dad, didn't have to pay for food, didn't have to worry when he had kids about a babysitter or a child care cost. He maybe even had a loan to start some of his businesses, and that loan maybe came from his parents. So always, that's the biggest thing in the class war. Looking to these people's backgrounds, find out where their money is, because wherever their money is, that's what they truly believe in. All right. So we're going to get into this Vice article in un minuto. First, I made a promise to myself. So every night, if you're going to tune into the live stream, just know I have some headlines that I'm going to go over. And again, I go over this news because this is the news your local news isn't talking about. And as soon as they do, or as soon as we start to see some changes, I will update it. But until then, this is happening every night in our communities. And I speak to this because it affects me, because I'm someone who, through layoffs, lost my job, trying to rebuild, and now I work for minimum wage, and I work at the biggest coffee corporation in the history of the world. Let that sink in. Not like modern day, like in the history of the world, there's never been anything like this. The Roman Empire didn't have a coffee conglomerate this big. They weren't making this kind of money. We've never seen this in global history, and I get $5 an hour in Massachusetts because they take out my health care and they take out my taxes, and I'm left with $5 an hour. Just think about that. In Massachusetts, I'm going to get into it. I'll tell you how much rent is for a medium one bedroom. Did I say medium? Not a medium one bedroom. The median one bedroom. All right. So let's get into the headlines. The other thing, I wanted to set this dude up. I wanted to have him perch my old crow friend. In case you're wondering, I have a bunch of decoy crows. If you go back on my YouTube channel, I've been studying crows for a long time, and outside my work, there's a family that gathers there. And these crows are some of the smartest birds. They call them primates with wings because they learn to use tools. They're very, very smart. And these crows, if they see a dead crow on your property, they'll never go there again. They'll find it suspect. They'll try to figure out how the bird died, and they'll stay away. But if you have decoy crows, they will come. I gotta figure out how to perch him on my thing. This is one of my favorite animals, outside of like my dog and my cat. Um, and orcas, because the orcas were putting in work sinking ships. Oh, God bless them orcas. They were sinking them rich people yachts left and right. I gotta look up and see if they're still doing it. Anyways, the crows, um, if they see these decoys, they will come and check out the crows, so that it will kind of attract them. And what I was doing is putting the decoys up, and then I had this Halloween skull with the top carved out, and I was putting peanuts in it, so it looked like the crows were eating out of a skull. I loved it. And not just at Halloween, I kept that out all summer, all year. I still got out on the front porch as soon as the weather changes, put it back out for them. But I was feeding them a bunch of peanuts. They love peanuts. Um, so I got a bunch of these decoys around the house. It's funny, my neighbors came up to me at one point and they were like, yo, is that thing real? They wouldn't approach it. We had guys come to work on the house and you'd see them skirt around it. They would like take the long way and I'd be like, don't worry, they're friendly. And then they get up to the door, I'd be like, I'm just kidding, man, those are decoys. And I had them all over the front. It's so funny how it scared people. But if you ever seen a crow in real life, these birds are big. This one's kind of small. But like the males, I think it is, they get big. So let's have him chill back there for a minute. What should we name him? That's what I asked my people. I just call him Old Crow for right now because he's a couple years old. All right, let's get into the headlines. 13 million kids are food insecure in America every night. 13 million. You know what that breaks down to? 1 in 5 American kids. 1 out of 5. I got, I think, close to 10 kids in our neighborhood. 2 of those kids, oh shoot, they might just be my kids. Don't know where their next meal is coming from. No, my kids, no. They just don't know what the meal may be. It might be a donated meal. Might be a meal I had to get that wasn't choice. So 1 in 5 American children. This is not some third world country. Although if you hear these stats, you'd think, oh, this is a third world country. Someone said, I think it was on Twitter, or no, maybe it was here on YouTube in the comments. Brilliant comment. They said America is a first world country with a third world country with a first world something. Oh, shoot. I'm going to have to look it up. I wasn't expecting to rattle that off. Now, the leading killer of people under 50 here in America, 50 is young. And the leading killer is opioid overdose. I didn't believe that. I wasn't going to rattle that off without looking it up, and I kept trying to find places that I could verify this, and what do you know? It's true. The leading killer for people under 50 is opioid overdose. And you don't see us getting free health care. You don't see us getting free access to rehabs. In fact, it's kind of devastating. I went through this with my family many, many times trying to get people into rehab. And most of the time they say, we don't have a bed. And they'll call you when they do. If you know anything about somebody who's ready to go to rehab, they need to go then. And then when you get them in, it could be thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars. So we got a lot of people dying. We need better access. I want to talk about cold shock resuscitation. Again, if you like YouTube and you like prison stuff and crime stories, go check out Lockdown 23 and 1. He does a lot of interviews, and this one guy he had on was talking about trying to get the American Medical Association to verify cold shock resuscitation as a way to stop overdose deaths. 61% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Now, I'm guessing you know what that is, and if you don't, it's you can't cover your bill until the next paycheck. That's simple as that. 61%, more than half Americans living like that. And I'm guessing there's a good 10% who have so much wealth that that's why I'm explaining that, because they don't understand what that is. Prices for goods hit a 50-year high in 2022, and corporate profits hit record highs. Probably still record highs. I think last year, I haven't checked so far in 2020. Well, we're too small into 2024. Meanwhile, 74% of people are stressed about living expenses. You know, expenses to live. The American housing crisis is still raging on. There are, oh, I forget how many homeless people, but I got to get that stat in here. But there are 28 empty homes for every one person experiencing homelessness. I don't understand how I keep saying this, and I tell this to a lot of different people when I talk with people throughout the day or throughout my travels, and I'm shocked at how many people aren't like, that's disgusting. It's simple math. We have more homes than homeless people. House them. That easy. But I don't know if it's a weird mistrust of people, a jealousy thing. You see that a lot. Like, well, if they get it, what about me? It's a sick. If you've ever been homeless, which I have, it's the most terrifying, hopeless feeling in the world. I was living in a car at one point, and trouble just snowballs from there. There's no good way out. I was grateful that I knew some people that let me stay on the couch in garages. Um, but I lost more and more every day I was homeless, and trouble kept finding me. And for people who go, just get a job, where do you give an address to? People want your address when you're getting a job. Correspondence, all this stuff. You don't have an address. Uh, Renting. There's a report that shows renting is now unaffordable for a record half of the United States. That's from NPR on January 25th. Very recent. Now, if you make $15 an hour, which is minimum wage here in Massachusetts, that's what I make, but after they take out my health care and taxes, I only make $5 an hour, so this don't apply to me. If you're making 15 an hour without taxes taken out, you're making 28,000 a year. They say, who's they? I got to figure out who established that you should pay a third of your income on rent. It should be like a sixth, but they say a third of your income on rent. That would be 800 a month. Again, no taxes taken out here in Massachusetts. And the median rent for a one bedroom apartment in Massachusetts, 24.95, almost $2,500. You you can't afford to live. You would need to be able to work three of those jobs just to afford a one bedroom. That's disgusting. Again, the solution to all this, unions. And that's what we're going to get into. That's the biggest catalyst of this class war that is being fought in the front lines right now in the courts, amongst the people. And hopefully, I can wake some people up to what's really going on and give you some news, because there's a lot of BS and propaganda, and most of the time it's involving rich people, like Russell Brand. He used to be a very left leaning progressive, addicts' rights, and all these things. And now he's just spewing propaganda, spewing it. Why? Because he's a rich folk, and he don't want us broke folks gathering together. Let's see. It's a money thing owning an empty property. It's worth more as a financial tax shelter and money leverage than that it is worth the headache of renting it out. That is very true. And the most disgusting thing about that, um, I gotta put this crow down. Next time I'm gonna get him set up. And you know what's funny? I got this crow, and look at this book. A red crow. I have like 8 books on my desk. I gotta get my stuff together. But so exactly what Seha said is goes for almost any industry here in America. It becomes more a better benefit to not feed the hungry. Let's see, during the pandemic, I forget how many potatoes, chickens, all these things they just killed off or got rid of. They destroyed instead of feeding people who were lining up in record numbers. Record numbers. I don't know if you remember during the pandemic, uh, what was going on in Texas. They had lines, car lines, out never before seen for food banks. Meanwhile, these American capitalists who are profiting off food are destroying it by the tons because it wasn't going to make them any money. Again, it's a simple fix. You have too much food, you're right, it won't make you any money right now, but how would it feel to feed a community? They don't care because it's about this form. So that's a very true thing. They'd rather sit and keep that house empty for tax reasons, for whatever. There's so many different reasons. Um, than rent it out to a family. And here in Massachusetts, I don't know how many people are going to be watching this from Massachusetts, but you could just see in the news it keeps popping up more and more. All of our shelters are filled up, so now they're on a waiting list for homeless families. Homeless families have to go on a waiting list. I don't know if you know this, but in the dead of winter, in the beginning of February, end of January here in Massachusetts, it gets down to the teens. Sometimes we're touching zero and below zero with the wind chill. People die in that. And these are families that are on a waiting list. And the scariest thing about that for me personally is I don't have family. Like I said, like my neighbors, okay? God bless them. Uh, much respect to them, but there's 5 generations living in that house. They're all living at their grandmother's house. I don't have my grandparents. I don't even remember most of my grand. I remember two, three of my grandparents. I have never had a grandfather. The only one I kind of had was died when I was 3. So there are so many, and then my parents again. My parents died before I was 27. So I've never had this like, oh, don't worry, if my life falls apart, I just go home. I don't have a home. That's why I've lived in a car. That's why I fight so hard for this stuff because this is affecting people. Maybe it doesn't affect you, and maybe you're watching this and you're like, well, what about me? What? Why shouldn't I get that? And what I say to those people is, do you have parents? You ever lived at home? Your grandparents? You ever had a family help you out? I don't sit here and go, what about me? It's just like people, if we came up with a cure for cancer, would all those people go, what about me? My parents had to die because of cancer, and we shouldn't have a cure now because I had to suffer. This is the most selfish thing, and it's always funny, a sad funny, when it comes from the people who claim to be Christians. Uh, all right, so in my last bullet point here, I have a bunch of bullet points, but the one I always like to talk about, because this relates to the story we're about to get into with Vice. When the punishment for a crime is a fine, remember this. I want people to write this down. When the punishment for a crime is a fine, it's not illegal for the wealthy. We're seeing that right now. Okay, I think the largest coffee corporation in the history of the world. They got a mermaid for a logo. They have over 200 violations, not allegations. My manager tried to tell me it's allegations. I was like, no, no, no. You guys have been fined. Right now, that huge coffee corporation has to back pay everyone that is not unionized because or sorry, that is unionized because a year ago they gave all their non-union employees a raise, and to punish the union people, they said, "Oh, we can't give you that raise because we got to bargain with you," which is untrue. If you're in a union and they're giving the company something, they have to give it to you, by law. And they went to court and they lost. So they're being penalized and they're still not coughing it up, even though they have the money to. They just don't think the laws apply to them because they're too rich. And we see it all the time. We see it in courtrooms, but we don't often see it with corporations. All right. So just remember that when the punishment for a crime is a fine, it's not illegal for the wealthy. Now I want to get into this article because those headlines take a while, but I made this promise to myself. I said I'm not going to stop talking about it until we cut these numbers down, until we fix these problems. When it, it just haunts me every day. As a dad, uh, I know the stress of sometimes not knowing if you're going to be able to provide food for your kids, and I know the stress of those situations of friends and family. Well, not family, I can't say that, but friends who share that sentiment in private. And I hear more often from people who want to keep it discreet of their suffering. It's amazing. It's amazing when you open up about these things. I know older generations say it's taboo, don't share your salary, but they just been told that by corporations, right? Or they just been told that. So it was to keep it's misogyny, it's racism, it's all these things when you dig deep into it. But when you share, when you open up about what you're making, what you're struggling with, it's amazing how many people will kind of flock to you and mirror that sentiment and share very personal things that, that's why I want to have people on because I want them to share. But a lot of people are scared, their pride, ego, they don't want to admit, whatever it is. But these are important things that we discuss. So I had made a vow to myself that I was going to start doing those headlines because I see the news. I watch Jimmy Kimmel to get some tidbits of the funny uh, headlines of the night. I'll check in with local news online, and none of them are like, listen, 1 out of 5 kids in our communities are going hungry. You would think that would freak people out. If you're a parent and you heard one kid in your neighborhood, if you got 5 kids in your neighborhood, one kid didn't know where his next meal was coming from, wouldn't you be like, this is appalling? We got to do something. Kids should be going hungry. Kid goes hungry, the repercussions of that. Tupac used to say, okay? This is one of my heroes. This man right here. Everybody thought that thug life tatted on his chest was about whatever, street life, which essentially it was. But life stood for the hate you give little infants F's everybody. Thug life. Is that an acronym? I think. Thug life. The hate you give little infants F's everybody, but it's not F's. I'm trying not to swear as much. The repercussions of that is kids go to school hungry, they can't focus, maybe they cause disruptions. That leads to maybe nowadays we're seeing police in schools. When I was growing up, not until close to graduate. No, no, no. I saw police in schools, but it wasn't even in my school. Um, and now that can lead to charges. We see videos online all the time of like little kids getting handcuffed, little kids getting thrown in cars. What do you think that perpetuates? A for-profit prison system. I'll tell you one thing. No little kid should be handcuffed unless they did something truly heinous. And if you start to look at the stem issue of these things, right? Kid goes into school, maybe not eating in a day and a half because he don't have money. He don't have money to survive. He's a kid. And the ripple effect is just atrocious. So I can't stop doing these headlines. I feel as I'm limited, I don't have a car. Um, I don't have much money, but at least I got a voice. And while I have a YouTube channel and all this, I cannot stop talking about these headlines. These are crises happening in America. We got to do something. We, the people, everybody that watches this, everybody that's watching right now, we can change this. This is why what I'm going to talk about right now, this story. At some point, I'm going to get a setup. As soon as my YouTube channel starts making money, I cannot and wait. That's the other reason. If you like this content, if you want to check in with the class war, which I'll be doing, trying to do much more. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment. If you don't like it, then F it, dislike it. But tell me why. Leave it in the comments. If you just want to defend Elon Musk, go ahead. I have no problem combating you or arguing with you, having some discourse. I'll try to do it out of love and change your minds because we need as many people as we can in this. Because these billionaires, if you work for them, they'd strip your rights in a heartbeat. They ain't your friends, all right? Look at this headline. I gotta try to read that backwards. Ain't gonna happen. U.S. corporations are openly trying to destroy core public institutions. We should all be worried. Hmm? All. Remember, if you go to work, you're working class. Trader Joe's, SpaceX, and Meta are arguing in lawsuits that government agencies protecting workers and consumers, the NLRB, National Labor Relations Board, and the FTC, Federal Trade Commission, are unconstitutional. Watch what you say, Zuck and Musk. Musk and Zuck. Worst names ever. Oh, I don't want to say, but these are two dudes that I don't take too kindly to. So Trader Joe's has become the second company in a month to argue in court that the National Labor Relations Board is unconstitutional, following the lead of Elon Musk's SpaceX. As both companies face board charges, the board, National Labor Relations Board, has charged them. Again, the ridiculous thing about this is they're not putting anybody in prison. These are fines. Fines for a billionaire is nothing because they ain't $1 billion. Um, and the whole article just disappeared. Is Bill Gates shutting off my Wi-Fi? I'm sorry, this has to load. No, for real, did they shut off my Wi-Fi because I can't use this? It's very frustrating. Did Zuckerberg, who controls the internet? The Illuminati? I don't know what to do. I'm pissed right now. Zuck, turn my internet back on. I ain't messing around. You gotta be joking me. I'm very sorry. It won't let me read this article. Yo, you gotta be trying to be messing with my stuff right now. Get out of here. This is all part of the class warfare. I'm so pissed. Anyways, they're taking this to court. I already read the article. I thought it was fascinating, some of the stuff. And I'm not kidding. Look, this is what my screen looks like. Oh, hold on. Let's see. Oh, no, look. Not even joking. I can't read nothing. Let me just try to Google it real quick. But essentially what this is Trader Joe's, who, if you don't know, uh, their workers have started a organizing movement. Organizing just means organizing your co-workers into a union, and Trader Joe's was one of the latest companies to be unionized. And when that happens, these companies like Trader Joe's are going to fight tooth and nail to not let their employees come together as a union, and they'll do everything in their power to not have to collectively bargain. Collectively bargain means the company on one side and all of your workers on the other side. If you've ever tried to go by yourself and negotiate a raise for yourself with the company, I don't hear too many people coming out being like, I got more than I expected. That don't happen often. And what happens with the union is not saying they got more, but they got much more than the average Joe. I think it's like 15% more than non-unionized workers. Vice won't even load for me right now. I have no idea what's going on with my internet. As soon as I start this class war talk, everything gets funny. But so Trader Joe's, latest company to really have a unionization effort movement. They're joining SpaceX, who had charges filed against them for union busting. I think they fired 8 people. Uh, Trader Joe, all these companies have charges against them. And Meta is trying to go up against the FTC. The Federal Trade Commission protects consumers from deceitful, uh, I forget what else it is, like deceitful and whatever, deceitful practices within business, which we know Zuck and his thing has been very deceitful. Uh, that's the FTC. The NLRB, the National Labor Relations Board, protects workers with their rights to form a union. They are the ones who have been an institution in America since 1935. FDR essentially helped institute this, and it allowed workers to organize, and it allowed workers to come together and to fight for better wages, better conditions. Essentially, unions have helped workers stop working 7 days a week. They helped get the 40-hour work week, weekends, getting kids out of the mines, kids out of work. Minimum wages were established because there's so many things unions are responsible for, and people fought and died for these things. You see a huge unionization effort right now. We saw the writers' strike. We saw uh, the UAW, UPS, all of these unions go to bat for their workers. Uh, and it's much better. United we stand, divided we fall, right? You ever try to take on, again, I go back to this all the time because I've taken on these mega corporations one on one. When I had to negotiate contracts, I didn't have anybody at my side. And they play around with you. They're like, we don't need you. And you kind of have to take what you get, even if you're doing amazing. They're like, no, 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 that's out of our budget. And it's like, I know what you make. I heard these earnings calls. I know what's going on with the upper management. Why don't you guys cut your salary? We're the ones out in the front lines doing all the work. We're the reason you can get paid. That was always the biggest irony to me. Working in radio, they say our talent is the heartbeat, the blood of this company. Why don't you pay us like that? How come you pay management so much? They're not on the air. They're not doing stunts. They're not getting the listeners. They don't have the relationships. We should be paid like management. Management, what are you doing? For real, in radio, what do you do? You manage people? Give me a break. People aren't going to radio stations and listen to morning shows going, man, that manager must be managing really good. They don't give a shit. And they paid us like dog shit. And then they had the propaganda out front to say, we value our employees. No, you don't. If you wonder why I haven't got a job back in radio, it's because I talk like this. And I ain't going to change. And one of my very close friends, God bless him, Stiz Grimy, go follow him on YouTube. He always said, Rob, I love you, but you weren't willing to play the game. And I said, Stan, sorry, I didn't mean to say that. I said, Stiz, I love you, but you play the game and look where you at. Okay? So at least I ain't compromising nothing. And I'm not saying he's compromising, but he's trying to get ahead, and he's witnessing how day and night these people will F him. They will lie to him. They will lie, steal, lie, cheat, and steal from him. I'm sorry, I'm trying to check if this Vice article will come back. God damn, if that don't throw a wrench into my then I don't know what does. This might not be as long because I literally can't get internet anymore. This is what my website looks like now. This is my notes, and I can't get it on my phone. These goddamn corporations. I'm going to blame it on the class war. Put your tinfoil hat on, whatever. So, essentially, the NLRB has been here for almost 100 years, introduced by Senator Wagner to protect employees to be able to join a union. Uh, the NLRB also regulates and imposes the fines, investigates these workers' violations, all these different things. The NLRB is really important, although I've called them a toothless organization, because until they can start saying, oh, you stole from wages from your employees, which wage theft is the largest theft in America. Burglary, larceny, robbery can't compare to the billions of dollars of wage theft. So until we start putting these people in prison, shoot, I thought the CEOs in prison are giving them jail time. It's funny how with working people, they go, oh, he stole. He'll learn by going to prison. He's got a larceny charge. Let's put him in prison, and that will teach him a lesson. How can these people that commit wage theft, these companies don't go to prison? Wouldn't that teach him a lesson? Well, we're actually starting to see that right now. We're seeing. I screenshotted it, but it's not coming up. Again, my whole computer. I'm just gonna put it away. My iPad is junk. I'm pissed. I might have to come on later, or I'm gonna do another live stream tomorrow. So hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, and tomorrow night at 6. I will be on Friday night. Come check in with the class war news. I'm going to have another millennial on, so we'll have a little millennial infighting. We're going to talk about the maggots, the MAGA crowd waging holy war against Taylor Swift. And if you don't know who's allegedly good and bad, the maggots are calling Taylor Swift a witch, the devil, a demon. No joke. They're doing that. So we're going to discuss that. I'll have some more class war news. Hopefully I can fill you in on more of this. But essentially, what that Vice article breaks down is all the mega corporations, SpaceX, Meta, Zuck, Trader Joe's, Zuck, Elon, Trader Joe's. I'm sure there's other people that are going to join. These corporations are starting to lean on this. Oh, it's unconstitutional to have a National Labor Relations Board who's going to find us in violation of stripping workers of their rights or committing crimes against workers, which I've had that happen to me. I've had my rights violated. I got 2 court cases right now with the NLRB against the company, uh, and they're fighting it tooth and nail, and they're dirty and grimy. And I was speaking from personal experience. They were like, take us to court. Maybe we'll see in 6 months if you have the stamina to last that long. These companies know. Poor people can't fight these, but they don't know me. So they're trying to say that the National Labor Relations Board is unconstitutional. But it's very constitutional. In the Constitution, we have the right to free assembly. I would assume, again, I ain't a lawyer, but free assembly with our coworkers to come together and join a union seems very constitutional. It seems unconstitutional that mega corporations, billionaires, trillion-dollar companies could decide that workers are not allowed to gather together to fight for better conditions, better staffing, better wages, to fight for themselves. It's funny. They all want to tell us, pull yourselves up by the bootstraps. And when we gather together and go, we're going to do just that, they go, oh, no, 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 not like that. Bunch of hypocrites. That's what they are. Well, why do they want this? Why do they want to call this unconstitutional and bring it to the Supreme Court? That's where they're hoping to end up going. Because right now, the Supreme Court is a 6-3 conservative majority, so they think they got a friendly Supreme Court. Donald Trump helped with that, which Donald Trump is the scab. He ain't for the workers. Trust me. Any millionaire, they're not going to be for the workers, okay? That's just common knowledge, and this is what I'm hoping to spread with this Class War News update. That the billionaire ain't your friend, okay? And they're trying to get it to Donald Trump's Supreme Court, and hopefully the Supreme Court will strike that down, and then workers don't have recourse. You see companies do whatever they want with workers. We're going to go back 100 years real quick if this happens. If they can get rid of minimum wages, imagine getting paid whatever the company wants. They start people at $4 an hour. Imagine that. They start people at $1 an hour. Oh, you can survive off that. And this ain't a joke. These companies, this is why we have a minimum wage. I tell people all the time, they go, oh, $15 an hour sound good. And I say, not after taxes and healthcare taken out. That's $5 an hour. I said, do you know why they pay you the minimum wage? Because they can't go lower. Remember that. There's a minimum wage installed, and any company that pays any employee that, they pay them that because they can't pay them any less. If these companies really valued their employees, they'd be paying them $10 over the minimum wage. Say, we love you guys. We want you to be able to have good weekends, vacation time, health care, food, well rested. That's a company that values their employees. A company that pays you minimum wage and you struggle, you get a 10-cent, 30-cent raise every year. They don't care, and they're doing it. Why? Again, because they can't pay you any less. They would if that minimum wage wasn't there. My proof is that the same company, right, a global corporation around America, isn't paying everybody $15 an hour. If the minimum wage in your state is $7.25, which it is federally and has been since 2009, they're paying you $7.25. That is my proof. So if they can get away with paying you less, they are going to do that, and that is just a fact. I've watched testimony in Congress about people at my company saying, I make $7.25, and I'm going, that sucks. How does this company claim to love its frontline workers, the people who make them the money, when they're paying them as low as they can go? It's like a fucking limbo game for these people. Low as you'll go, that's what they're going to pay you. So right now they're trying to get rid of the NLRB, who helps protect workers from gathering together to fight for better wages. And this is key, because whatever we can do as the people, we need to be in solidarity with each other. It doesn't matter, again, cross industry, whatever you can do to support your local unions, to go out on a picket line, to donate to strike funds, because again, a strike fund is a last resort. Nobody wants to strike. They strike because they are not being heard. It's just like somebody said, violence, it was Martin Luther King. He said, violence is the language of people who have gone unheard, uh, or who have not been listened to. Again, that's a loose quote, but look it up. Martin Luther King said that. And why do you think people strike? Because they have not been heard by the company, and they feel like they're at the wit's end. Now, here in Massachusetts, we have a teacher strike going on in Newton, and in I said in Newton yesterday, but here in Massachusetts, they made it illegal for teachers to strike. These teachers are breaking the law, solidarity with you, to fight for better conditions, for better pay, to educate the kids. Now, I don't know why it's illegal in Massachusetts, and trust me, I'm going to dig into that, and we will get into that, but whatever we can do to reverse those laws, it needs to happen, because I would think whatever our teachers need, we would like to give it to them. They're the ones who watch our kids most of the time. They're the ones that are teaching our young minds, and they are the most important people to guarantee a smarter, better, brighter future for us, if you believe the kids are the way. I think a lot of people believe old folks are the way. That's why we got two 180-year-old men running for president again. Jesus Christ, what do they know about us? These men are 2,000 years old. They remember when it was BC, before it was AD, and they're running for president. These senile motherfuckers don't know nothing about what we go through. They don't. And they all got generational wealth. Donald Trump specifically said on video, he said, I got a small $1 million loan from my daddy. Who gets that? That's not a small loan. I get that. I think I'd be set for a good long time. Whoo, doggy. So this is the class war update. I'm going to wrap it up in a minute, because, again, I apologize, people. Um, as soon as I started talking about these companies, my internet just stopped. Not my internet, because I think I'm still streaming. We'll find out in a little bit. But this article that I was trying to read from to educate some people, you can go look it up. Look up Vice.com, and corporations are trying to take uh, to the highest court of the land, to the Supreme Court, uh, the in a public institution that's been in America for almost 100 years, the NLRB and FTC, to eradicate them. Look it up. Great article on Vice News. But as soon as I started talking about it, it disappeared on my website, on my iPad. Whew. I am pissed. This is what happens when I Google it. I just can't read it. So I can read other. I'm so baffled at that. That's suspect. I kind of summarized it, but still, it's always good to go into the details. This is important stuff. I wouldn't take the time every day to go through this if it wasn't vitally important to tomorrow, vitally important for our kids, vitally important for you, whether you agree on unions or not. The proof is in the pudding. Look it up. Okay? When a union's in town, everybody's wages go up. Everybody. So if you're one of those people who says, what about me? Well, if there's a union close by, your wages are going to go up. That is just a fact. Google it. I love saying that because I know nobody does. All right. I'm going to try to post up my bird next time. Old Crow. We got to get a name for him. He can't just be Old Crow, right? Could he be? I don't know. Um, and again, tomorrow night, I will be here. I think I'm going to have a co-host. I can't guarantee it. I'm not going to talk about it unless my crow fell. Unless I know, but I think either way, I will be going live at 6 p.m. tomorrow night, Friday night. So please hit subscribe, uh, hit the like button, leave something in the comments, whether you're in solidarity with us, with the people who are fighting for better conditions for all workers, or If you're a class trader and you want to defend Elon Musk and Zuckerberg and think they shouldn't have to pay their fair share, if they want to buy off a politician, they should be able to. If they want to eradicate our rights and take away the NLRB, so we, can't have any. Say hi, take care. Hopefully you stop by tomorrow. Leave it in the comments. And with that, I'm gonna wrap it up. Thank you so much. I promise my websites will be working tomorrow. Actually, I can't promise that because I don't know what happened. I'm hoping it's just a glitch. That's nerve wracking though. You ever have that happen where you'd be talking to somebody, and you'd be talking about something, and then you go look something up online, and exactly what you came up or exactly what you talked about came up in the ads? That's always terrifying to me because if you've seen the Snowden movie, Citizen 4, watch that. I think it's on HBO. It's the actual documentary, and he talks about the NSA can be listening to this right now. Hi NSA. I always like to say that when I'm on the phone. Hi Google. I know you're watching because they are. Sad but true. And what else was I gonna say? No. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment. I gotta get out of this, or I don't even want to get out of this job that I'm working at. I just need some other kind of income, so I'm gonna grind it out as hard as I could. And I said at the beginning, I hate saying grind, but I think grind is okay when you're doing something you love. When you're talking about, grinding it out for a passion of yours. And this is my passion because just like Chairman Fred used to talk about, there is no revolution without the people. The power is when there are people together, and I firmly believe that. I highly suggest you should look up some Fred Hampton stuff. He is one of the most amazing people in the history of this world. He was killed and murdered by the FBI. He has a very interesting story, a very exceptional speaker, but more importantly, his philosophy still lives on today with some people. I think they should be teaching about our kids, teaching them to our kids in school. I teach my children about him, and I hope to continue on his legacy by talking about how when there are people together, we have the power. And if you don't believe that, then why are these billionaires doing everything they can to eradicate institutions that protect workers? Why do you think this keeps them up at night? Why do you, if we didn't have power in numbers, do you think they'd waste our time? If they knew we were still powerless, even when we gathered together in unions, do you think they'd be going through all this, trying to get this to the Supreme Court? I want you to think about that, okay? This is important for the class war. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.